All right, welcome back to our third day of the second part of the Pico Summer Series. Thank you all for joining us. Just a few reminders. One, this is being recorded to let you all know. So if you do make comments or things, they will be recorded. But on the bright side, this will be posted later on the Patton College YouTube channel. So you'll be able to find it again if you want to pop back and revisit anything that's covered here today. We also have 2 more sessions tomorrow about teams and one this afternoon about affordable course resources. So we hope you join us for those as well. Let's get started today. Today we're going to talk about Voicethread, and we have Eric Kaufman here from OIT to kind of present. You all have heard about it a little bit in some of our presentations, but today will be a more in-depth look at Voicethread. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to you, Eric, and we can get started.
Perfect. Thanks, Jody. Like Jody mentioned, my name is Eric Kaufman. I'm a learning systems analyst too in OIT here at Ohio University, where I support mainly our academic technology tools. Okay, so I want to start off this presentation with providing with you some resources that you have within the university, and some resources you have, some support resources you have through Voicethread as well. One second here. Okay, great. I'm assuming you all can see my screen. I think I shared it earlier. It just looks like it should be shared with everyone right now.
We can see it.
All right, perfect. Just wanted to make sure. I kind of thought that I had shared it, but wasn't sure. So after today's workshop in Voicethread, you do have the opportunity to book a consultation, an individual consultation with a team member within OIT. If you have additional questions with Voicethread, or if you have a more specific case in Voicethread that you would like to use, you can book a time to meet with an individual from OIT to support your individual case. So the URL for that is ohio.edu/OIT/training/consultations. And right now, the tool focused consultations right now only show Blackboard, Teams, Panopto, and ProctorTrack. There was a Voicethread option here earlier in this week, but they did take that down. There was some confusion. It was booking individuals that didn't have Voicethread experience. So they're working on repairing that right now. That should be up hopefully before the end of the week. And if it's not, though, you can always use the book consultations for other tech tools, and then you could request that you want a Voicethread consultation through this system instead. Those are your resources within Ohio University and OIT. Voicethread also provides some resources for you on their page. So to access Voicethread through your Ohio account, you'll need to go to ohio.voicethread.com. You can get through that URL, or you can go to Voicethread through Blackboard. So this is the home screen in Voicethread. When you do first log into Voicethread, this is the home screen that you see. It's default to show you all the Voicethreads that you have access to, all of your Voicethreads your account has access to. I have an admin account in Voicethread, so I see all Voicethreads associated with the university. To change your home view, you can click on these 3 bars here. You can just see Voicethreads that are owned by you, shared by you. This tutorials is where I want to go right now to show you the resources that Voicethread offers to provide you some additional information. So I click on tutorials. There's 6 tutorials here that Voicethread provides to you. Some common, probably some common questions that has been brought to them, to how to create a Voicethread, how to comment on a Voicethread, how to share your Voicethread, and so on. These are all Voicethread videos that you could click on to watch to give you some information on that specific topic within VoiceThread. Stop that there and go back. So there's the tutorial options that you have from VoiceThread that they offer for additional instructions. Okay, let me go back to okay. So in today's workshop, I'm going to cover how to create a VoiceThread, how to share that VoiceThread with your students, how to create that VoiceThread link in Blackboard, the different options that you have when you create the link in Blackboard. There are non-graded links that you can provide to your students in Blackboard. There are also graded links that you can provide to your students in Blackboard. There are different ways that you can share your VoiceThread with your students. You can have them just view the VoiceThread. You can have them comment on the VoiceThread. VoiceThread is a great tool for an audio video discussion that you can have in your course. It's a good substitute for online. It's a good substitute for in-person discussion. You could ask your students a question and have them reply with a comment to start a discussion within your course. So I'm gonna go back outside of Blackboard right now, and we're going to create a VoiceThread through VoiceThread's page. Actually, let's do it through Blackboard. So in Blackboard, your VoiceThreads can be created from any content area in your course. I've added this VoiceThread content area to this test course here. I'll click on this content area to enter this portion of my course and then hover over build content. The VoiceThread link is under build content in our instance of Blackboard. So build content, then click on VoiceThread. You'll first want to give your VoiceThread a name. I'm going to demo the home feature of VoiceThread in this first link here. So I'm going to call it VoiceThread Home, and that's really all you do for a non-graded VoiceThread item here. You really just need to provide a name, and then click Submit. And now you've created the link in your course for VoiceThread. We now have to configure this link and see what you want this link to do function-wise through VoiceThread. So to configure this link, you just click on the link again, and now you'll be presented with three options that you have in VoiceThread. There's the course view, home, and individual VoiceThread. The course view would launch your students into the view that they would see all VoiceThreads associated with this course. The home link would launch your students into the view where they would see their home page of VoiceThread, so that individual would see any VoiceThreads that they have associated with their account. An individual VoiceThread, which is probably the most commonly used, would launch your students into a specific VoiceThread that you've already created or you are going to create during this process. If you want to share a specific VoiceThread with your students through a link, you would want to click individual VoiceThread. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to start with the home link. So we would just click home, and that's all. So now we've established this. We configured this VoiceThread link to link to the VoiceThread home for your students when they click on it. So to get back to your course, we'll just click on this VoiceThread back here. It'll take us back to our VoiceThread content area of our Blackboard course. And now when your students click on this link, it'll take them to their home version of VoiceThread. So anything that they have associated with their account will be displayed here. And And a couple of things behind the scenes happen here during this process. If your students have never accessed Voicethread at all, this will provision their account as well. And this does give them the option, the same that you will have as an instructor, to watch these tutorials through Voicethread. Your students can click on the 3 bars and they can click on tutorials here, and they'll have some instructions on how to create a Voicethread or how to comment on a Voicethread. Could be if you're just now going to use Voicethread in your course, it could be a good resource to give your students, to give them some instructions on how to use Voicethread. I'm going to do this a couple more times. Create these Voicethread things here a couple more times, so you can watch and see exactly how it was done. So it's so I'm in the Voicethread content area of my Blackboard course. I'm going to hover over Build Content, then I'm going to select Voicethread. Here I'm going to give this Voicethread a name again. And here I'm going to name this the Voicethread course, and we're going to go through the Voicethread course menu this time. So again, this is not a graded Voicethread assignment. This is we're just providing your students a link to access a part of Voicethread that we want them to see. So I give it a name and I click Submit. And again, the link is added to my course. It just needs to be configured now. So we'll click on the link to configure it. We're presented with those 3 options again: Home, Course View, and Individual Voicethread. We're going to select Course View this time, and that's all there is to the Course View portion. And to add that Course View link to your Blackboard course. Very similar to the Home. Only difference would be your students will only see Voicethreads that are associated to this specific course. It'll also do the same behind the scenes creation of their account and putting them in the specific group for your course as well. So to go back to your course, just click on Voicethread, and this Voicethread is just the content area of my course. So next we'll go ahead and click on Build Content, and we're going to add an individual Voicethread this time. So Voicethread. Give it a name. We're not grading again, so we'll just give it a name and click Submit. And again, we got to configure this link. And like I said, like in the previous times, we had the 3 options. We're going to select individual Voicethread this time. And now, after selecting the individual Voicethread, Voicethread wants you to either create the Voicethread or pick a Voicethread that you've already created that you want your students to see through this link. At this time, I want to go ahead and create a new Voicethread just so we can kind of go over that process as well. So I'll select Create a New Voicethread. And to create a Voicethread, you first need to add the media to your Voicethread. So we'll click on the Add Media button here, and you're presented with these options and resources to add your media to your Voicethread. My computer, the media sources, audio recording, webcam, and webcam photo and a webcam video. Probably wouldn't. The webcam photo would just be basically a picture of yourself or a picture of whatever your webcam is pointed at. The audio recording obviously would just be an audio style format. Your My Computer, you click on your My Computer, you can add files that you want your Voicethread to have in them, and the webcam you could record yourself for this Voicethread as well. In this situation, I'm going to click on My Computer, and I'm going to find my Voicethread files that I want to share in this presentation. So I selected my two screenshot or 2 files that I had created earlier that I want to share through my Voicethread. Next, we're presented with we want to give our Voicethread a name, and we're just going to we have a couple of math equation files here. We're just going to name this Voicethread Math 101. You can add a description here if you'd like. You have the playback options here. You can, in this spot here, one of the biggest ones I would think was you can enable comment moderation, which what that means is you as the instructor would be the only one that could view your students' comments. If you don't want your students to see each other's comments, you would enable that. And then you as the instructor would only be able to see those. Probably not as important here for an individual voice thread, but if you do have an assignment where your assignment does require your students to comment, especially if you have specific questions you're asking and the answers are the same, you don't want your students to all see the correct answer or to view each other's comments. So you can enable that to prevent that from happening. We'll go over that later in the assignment section of Voicethread. You have options to enable that during that time as well. So I'll click Save. So now I have my media added to my Voicethread, and now I want to start my comment section of the Voicethread. So just click on Comment, and it'll automatically load my first file here that we can comment on. And it's kind of hard to see, but there's a little plus symbol down at the bottom, and these are your options you have to add your comments to this slide. You could use the microphone to record. You could record your webcam. You could upload, if you have an upload audio recording, you could upload it here, excuse me. Or you could choose the text here and you could type in your comments. I'm going to choose the microphone and it'll start the recording. It'll give you a countdown here. And so now you can see that indicated that the recording has started. You could use your pencil here to draw on your file. If you like, you click on the pencil, you can choose your color. We'll go back and choose red. And while you're speaking, you can draw on the file to highlight specific areas of the file that you're presenting. Okay, you could go through the next slide, and you could do the same thing with the next slide here, and so on and so on. If you have multiple slides here within your Voicethread, and when you're satisfied with your presentation, you just click Stop Recording, and it'll process here for a couple seconds. And so what it'll do is it'll replay your presentations with your comments, and you can listen to that. And once you're happy with the outcome, you can click Save. If you're unsatisfied with the presentation that you provided, you can click Cancel, and you can do that over again. So I'm gonna click Save, and that's all. I have this Voicethread is now created. It has my comment here where students can see. Students will be able to reply to my comment with any questions that they may have.
So Eric, we have a question in the comments asking, does this work with PowerPoint?
Absolutely, yeah. So you could upload your PowerPoint file in the Voicethread, and you could go through the same process that I just went through here.
The other thing real quick that's nice about uploading a PowerPoint is it'll pull each slide in as an individual kind of piece of media. So if you have a slide deck, you can easily move slides around once they're pulled into Voicethread, or delete some slides, but it will not keep the animation, kind of like Panopto. So it'll just pull them in kind of like an image.
That's a great point, Jody. You can once your slide deck is loaded into a Voicethread, you can manipulate it. So you could take the last slide and move it to the middle, however you want to do in Voicethread. So let me go back to my course now.
Another question, does it allow you to record all or just per slide? So I think it's asking, like, can you record one long piece, or do you do a comment on each slide? I've only ever done it a comment on each slide, but can you do it with one comment on multiple slides, Eric?
Right. I think that's the kind of the way I just demonstrated was
Okay.
my comment continued. I could hit the next slide and I didn't stop my comment. I kept continuing.
Okay.
Yeah, so you don't have to stop your comment and then change slides and add a new comment. You could just start your commenting unless you decided you wanted a different comment approach. If you wanted to do just an audio comment for one slide and maybe a text comment for another one, you would want to stop that and restart. See where I was at here. Okay, so those are the three options that we have to add a VoiceThread to our Blackboard course. The three non-graded options in Blackboard. The VoiceThread Home will take your students to their home screen, and they'll see any VoiceThread that they have access through their account. The VoiceThread course will take them to the course view of VoiceThread, and it'll show them any VoiceThreads that are associated to this course. The individual VoiceThread will take them to a specific VoiceThread that you either select during that process of configuring the link, or the process of creating the VoiceThread while you configure that link. All three of these options will do the same behind the scenes actions to provision your student's account if they've never accessed VoiceThread before, and it'll also put them in the correct course group by accessing this link through this course. It'll add them to your courses group. The next section we'll cover over will be some VoiceThread, some graded options in VoiceThread. There are three different types of graded options in VoiceThread, and we'll go over those now. So when you do want to add a graded option to your course through VoiceThread, we'll add the same link as we have for the non-graded options. There's just a slight difference when we do the configuration of adding this link. So we'll go to Build Content, VoiceThread, give it a name. So the next step here is the change when we do want to add grading to the VoiceThread. We'll scroll down a little bit here within Blackboard, and we have this enable evaluation. We want to make sure we turn this on and provide the points possible for the assignment. So I'm going to enable evaluation, and the points possible for this assignment is 100. So your students will have 100 points for completing this assignment. You also have the same restrictions, date and time restrictions for VoiceThread as you would have it with any other Blackboard item in your course. You can select a due date, and the due date here acts the same way as a due date would for an assignment in Blackboard. It doesn't restrict your students from submitting an assignment late. It only indicates that it's late. And you do also have the select time and date restrictions here if you don't want your students to see this assignment until you're ready for it. So enable evaluation and select your points possible and click submit. So the same as before, our VoiceThread link is in our course. It just needs to be configured now. Since we did enable evaluation, we'll have a fourth option here. When we click on the link, we'll still see course view, home view, individual VoiceThread, and we'll see one more button here if it loads. Interesting. Just try that again. There we go. Sorry about that. So like I said, we see the course view, we see the home button, we see individual VoiceThread, and our new one now, we see assignment builder. For a graded assignment in VoiceThread, we want to select assignment builder, and now I'll have 3 additional options here. How do you want your students to submit this assignment? You can have your students create a VoiceThread. You can have your students submit a comment to a VoiceThread that you'll provide, or you can just have your students watch the VoiceThread. This is a good option here if you are providing lectures through VoiceThread and you're not sure if your students are watching the entire VoiceThread. This will, if you do the assignment builder and select watch a VoiceThread, your students will have to thoroughly watch the VoiceThread to receive credit for it. It'll have to play all the way through. It'll play your comment all the way through for them to receive credit. So we'll start with watch a VoiceThread, and the same as individual VoiceThread here, we have the option to either create this VoiceThread or we can use a VoiceThread that we've already created. I will select one we've already created, and so you can add a description here, and you may in this description field you may want to inform your students that they do need to completely play through the complete comment to receive credit for this assignment. You can preview your VoiceThread here if you'd like. You can edit this as well here if you're not sure. You can make a copy. You have some submission decisions here as well. You can allow students to resubmit this assignment. So once you're satisfied with all these settings and you have your descriptions created for your VoiceThread, you just click on create assignment, and that will create this assignment for your course. And your students will be able to log in, click on this link, and they'll watch that VoiceThread that we just created. And they'll have to watch that VoiceThread completely through to receive credit for this assignment. So we'll go back to Blackboard here. Side note as well, the three graded options that we have, they do create columns in your full grade center as well. Karen, I think I'm going to get to this here next. When you want your students to submit comments to a VoiceThread, I'll go ahead and go over that assignment type now. So the same as we've done this entire time, we're going to build content, VoiceThread, give it a name. Scroll down to the evaluation settings. Make sure you enable evaluation. Give it a points possible, and click submit. Once again, we need to configure this link. We're presented with the 4 options again. For an assignment, we want to choose assignment builder. And if you want your students to submit a comment or submit multiple comments to your VoiceThread, we want to select the submit a comment assignment type here. Same as individual VoiceThread, we need to either A, create the VoiceThread or choose one from our list we've already created. I would choose the same VoiceThread we've been using this entire time. It'll load it over here to the right. Now we have some additional options here now since we are asking the students to comment. We could again provide a description here. Say in the description, if it's more of a discussion that you want your students to have, you can inform them that maybe on Monday and Tuesday, you expect their initial comment for them to upload their initial comment to this VoiceThread, and on Thursday and Friday, maybe they can reply to 1 or 2 students, and that would be the completion of the assignment would possibly be their initial comment and maybe 2 replies. So in that situation, for this assignment to be completed, your students would need to add 3 comments. So you can adjust that down here in the comments required. You can up that to 3. So now your students will be informed that they do need 3 comments to complete this assignment. And if it's maybe, and in this situation, if it is more of a discussion voice thread, you want to make sure this, you do have the moderate comments section over here on the right hand side. We'll make sure that is not checked and or not enabled. You do want your students to be able to see each other's comments. If this comment would be more of a question, if you have multiple questions, let's say if you had multiple slides and you wanted your students to answer questions on each slide, and you wouldn't want them to see each other's comments, you would turn on moderate comments here on the right hand side, and that would prevent your students from seeing each other's comments. That would allow you as the instructor to see them, but prevent your students from seeing them. And once you're satisfied with the description, you have the comments required section to the number of comments that you would like to have. Go ahead and click on Create Assignment. That creates the comment type assignment here in Voicethread. Thomas, yes, there are options to share your Voicethread. We can go over that here in just a few minutes as well. From this section here, we want to go back to our Blackboard course, and we'll go ahead and choose that third and final Voicethread assignment option here. Okay. So once again, we want to name the assignment, scroll down, enable evaluation, select your points possible, and click. And I guess we do want it to be visible to students if you're ready at that time. These links will function in the same way any other Blackboard link does. If you want to create them in advance, you can do that and then have them become available at a certain date. We're good with the name. We're good with enabled evaluation. We provide points possible. We'll click submit. That adds that Voicethread link to our course, and we just need to configure it now. And to do so, we'll click on the link. We'll be presented with the 4 options again. We're creating an assignment. We'll go to Assignment Builder. And our third option here is to create a Voicethread. And what this is you're requesting your students to create a Voicethread for this assignment. So here, less options here. You'll have your students. You can provide your students with a description of the assignment, and you can allow them to resubmit the assignment if you would like. And then click Create Assignment. I think it's probably good to have the Voicethread Home maybe in your course at first, and provide them those tutorial links. That way, they have instructions on how to create a Voicethread, especially if you're going to require an assignment for them to create a Voicethread. So a Voicethread creation assignment would be if you were, I guess if you were giving like a nursing course and you wanted your students to go over some of their checklists, and they would record themselves maybe going over some of their checklist on a patient. They could record all that, and that would be their submission through a Voicethread. It'd be a good way to really for our students to demonstrate something hands-on or where you could view them. So after the assignment's created, you can go back to Voicethread now. So that covers creating the home view, the course view, the individual view, and the 3 separate assignments in Voicethread. And like I mentioned before, those 3 separate assignments all create columns in your full grade center as well. Let me go back. Okay, so I'm gonna I'm gonna switch back over. I'm gonna show you what your students see when they log into Blackboard and how they submit a few of these assignments here real quick. Give me 1 second to jump over to my test account real quick. I guess during this pause here, if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to go over some questions right now up to this point. Thomas, I do see your question. I want to maybe go over some of the sharing options here after I provide the student view. Okay, great. So now I want to go over what your students will see, what they'll see to submit a VoiceThread, and then after maybe I submit a comment through a VoiceThread, I'll go back to the instructor view again, and I'll show you what you will see as the instructor and how you can grade those. We gotta. Lindsay, yes. So what after a student would, if your assignment was to have your students submit, create and submit a VoiceThread, you as the instructor would have the ability to reply to that VoiceThread with a VoiceThread. So yeah, you could kind of critique their submission via VoiceThread. Okay, let me go ahead and we'll jump over here. This is my test account. I'm enrolled in the course I was just working in as a student in this course. So we'll show you what your students will see once they log in. So under the content areas here, we'll click on VoiceThread, and they will see the VoiceThread links that you've created. We'll start off with the VoiceThread Home. Like I had mentioned before, this will provision their accounts that they have never logged in the VoiceThread. It'll also add them to the courses group. So in this for this account that I had, my test account here, these are the VoiceThreads that I have access to. It takes me to my home. So any voice that I have access to will be displayed here. And the student does have the option here to create a VoiceThread, and then so if they had a VoiceThread assignment where they were required to create a VoiceThread, they could create this here. It would be saved to their list, and then when they can go back to the assignment and select that VoiceThread that they've created to submit for that assignment. So we'll go back to the Blackboard course, and then the next option would be the course view. Here your students will only see the VoiceThreads that are associated with this course. This is the one VoiceThread that we've created so far with this course. So go back, click on VoiceThread, and this may be confusing up here. This VoiceThread, this is just the name of my content area. This could be you could have your VoiceThreads in a week 1 content folder, and it would say week 1 up here. Or you could have your VoiceThreads in a learning module, and it would say learning module up there. It all depends on how you configure your course. The next option here would be individual VoiceThread. Your students click on that, and they will see the individual VoiceThread that, well, I must on the selected individual VoiceThread, but they they would see the individual voice thread that you want them to see through that link. Next are the assignments. Can't remember what order I selected for the assignments. So we'll click on this Voicethread assignment first here. Okay, so this was the watch the Voicethread assignment. So your students would click on that link. They would have to fully play the comment, and once they're finished fully playing this comment at the bottom here, then they would have the ability to submit this assignment up here. I probably don't want to listen to this whole thing, so we'll just kind of skip this one from now. But that's what they would do. They would play the comment here, and they would have the submit assignment button up here at the top. We're going to go back. So it's warning me here that I really haven't completed this assignment yet. They want to make sure you're sure you want to leave because I haven't submitted it or I haven't fully played the comment here yet. So I'm going to leave the page anyway. Our next assignment was to comment on a voice thread. So I'll select that link. That'll load, and we start to play it. You can play the voice thread and click on submit assignment. Oh, I didn't add a comment. I can add a comment. Oh, sorry. That's right. So excuse me. So your students will have the same commenting options that you have as the instructor. This specific assignment wants the student to submit 3 comments. So what your student would want to do is maybe the initial comment was an initial reply to maybe a question you had in the voice thread, and the following 2 comments would be replies to student replies. So the student would want to first start off with their initial comment. They click the plus symbol at the bottom, and they would the same as an instructor would do. They would have the options here on how they want to provide their comment. I'll click on the microphone here. Allow the microphone, and it'll give us a countdown before it starts. And now it's recording my comment as a student now. The students have the same options as the instructor would. We can go through the slides, and we could add our comments to each individual slide, and they also have the same pencil options as well, where they can mark a slide with some of their comments. Once they're finished, they click stop recording. Same process as instructor. It'll process, it'll play their comment back to them, and they can save it once they're satisfied with that. It's probably confusing because all of my comments are similar accounts. Only difference is that the caller here. Obviously, if your students commented, the initials would indicate their account. So now you do see a comment, one student comment submission here. As an instructor, you come in, you could watch that. Any other students in the course could log in and they can view this as well, because we did not disable the moderation comments. So a student wouldn't be ready to submit this assignment yet because it does require 3 comments. They could leave this voice thread and come back when some students have some additional students have commented and they are able to reply. So we'll go back to So again, it warns us that our submission isn't complete. Make sure you want to leave the page. Okay, so our third option for our students would be to create a voice thread. We'll click on that link. And here your students are presented with the ability to create a voice thread. If I had voice threads that I've created through this student or this test account, they would be listed here. Since I don't, I'll go ahead and click on create a new voice thread. I'm going to add the media, And this could be in that checklist scenario. This could be you would want to select a webcam video that will record through your webcam whatever action the students are doing. Just for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to create audio recording. I think just because I'm using my headphones, it's asking me for access to the external microphone. I'll allow it. The recording is going to start. And so I just selected an audio comment or an audio media here. So we just recorded an audio. I'll stop recording. It will again process that and play it back to me, and I'll click save when I'm happy with the results. Here as a student, I will provide us with a title. And click save. So this completes I'm sorry, it doesn't complete it. I need to click on submit assignment now. As a student, I click submit assignment, and I can preview my voice thread that I just created. I can submit this assignment just to my instructor, or I can share this with a class. You probably want to provide that information in your description of your assignment, letting your students know that they can share them with the class, or if you don't want them to share the class, just have them click the submit assignment. I'll just go ahead and click submit assignment here, and that lets me know that my assignment was submitted successfully. I can go back to Voicethread now. So now we've looked at the different options that we have as a student, how they can view the Voicethread Home, the Voicethread course, the individual Voicethread, and the 3 separate graded Voicethread assignments. So now I want to go back as in the instructor role and show you these submissions. Let me refresh this page here. So first I'm going to look at the creation of a Voicethread and what a student submission looks like there. So as an instructor, I can come back to my Voicethread content area, and now since this link has already been configured, it'll take me to the instructor view of this assignment. So I click on the link. And now it'll show me the student that has submitted the assignment is here. So this shows me that this individual has submitted the assignment. I can click on that to open it, to watch it, and then provide a grade to that student here as well. And as the question mentioned earlier, if you do have some feedback that you'd like to provide to the student from the submission, you could hover over the Voicethread and click on the plus symbol, and you can provide your feedback via the comment method in Voicethread and select the same selections you would have with any other comment in Voicethread. You could just do the audio recording. You can do the webcam. You could just write a feedback comment if you'd like. You could upload a feedback if you have that. I don't have a ton of people enrolled in this course as students, so unfortunately I had this one test account. If we had multiple students enrolled in this course, the students that have submitted the assignment would be at the top. The students that have not submitted the assignment will be listed below this. You do have the option to remind students of this assignment if you're getting close to the deadline and you don't haven't received their Voicethread yet. So you can customize this notification as well. So click on the remind students, and you could customize the subject and the message, and then you could send that on to your students, and that will send them an email notifying them that they do have this assignment that's the due date's coming up, or perhaps the due date has already passed.
Eric, we do have a couple of questions in the chat. If now might be a good time to address those.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see those. Susan asked, is there a way to combine students creating their own voice threads and having other students comment rather than 2 sections? Susan, do you mind clarifying what you're asking? Are you combining courses?
Hi.
Or?
Yeah, thank you, Eric.
You're welcome.
No, my idea is to have my students create their video with their comments and add it on, but then have other students critique their lesson or ask questions. And I understand creating your own voice thread with their web assignment or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then I wanted, like, we have groups, so I wanted like 2 or 3 others to review that and make comments as well before I would do that. Would I have to do that in 2 different sections, one where they create their one and then one where they do comments? Or is there a way to combine that into one assignment?
I guess I'm thinking you probably would want, if it's an assignment, you probably wouldn't want the entire class to see their submission. You would just want them to see it as maybe if you had a group of 5, you just want those 5. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my thought.
That's a good question. As far as I know, I don't know of a group assignment in Voicethread. I would be happy to reach out to Voicethread and see what their recommendation would be for that. But I'm not sure.
So one way we found a workaround for this, which is what we have to do sometimes with these tools, is to create the same assignment but a number of times, and then adaptive release it to each of those groups you have set up in Blackboard. So it might be lesson plan 1, group 1, and you set that assignment up, but then only release that assignment to group 1, and then do the same thing for your other groups. So it makes the grade center a bit more complicated, but it makes it so only those students have access to that Voicethread assignment.
Yes, I did that with like a discussion board kind of thing. So yeah, so it's similar to that. Okay.
Similar idea. It's just you have to use adaptive release as opposed to the group discussion boards. But you would have to set students up in those groups first.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks, Jody. That's a great workaround. Let's see what's.
So you can make groups in Voicethread, but it doesn't tie into Blackboard quite as well. So I would recommend using the Blackboard groups in the adaptive release. If you're setting that up, we found it works a little bit better. But Robin, if you've had success, then I might need to chat with you later to figure out how you did that.
Okay, Maureen asked, if an instructor is reviewing a video and adding comments, is there a timestamp to indicate the exact moment under discussions? Yeah, so if I can provide you an example here. If I were to add this comment feedback to this for this student. Yeah, so I'm recording audio right now, and I'm going to go ahead and stop that. It'll process, and I'll save it. So if you kind of just hover over the comment, it'll tell you when the comment was made, and it'll also kind of show you where I started this comment in the process of the submission. So if there's specific parts of the VoiceThread that you want to provide feedback on, you would wait till you get to that point in the VoiceThread and then start your comment. So this is kind of a bad example since I did just submit an audio. If there were slides on here, or if it was a webcam submission, you could wait till you get to that point that you want to provide feedback on, and then hit the plus symbol and then provide that feedback there. You and your student will both see when the comment was made, a timestamp. It'll have the date and time here, and it'll also indicate on the timeline at the bottom here what part of the voice thread you were commenting on. Maureen, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Great. Thanks. Okay, great. So that, okay, great. There's another question. Are there a way to edit slides once they're in Voicethread? I've used graphics and charts. Adrian, I want to ask if there was a way to edit slides once they're in Voicethread. I don't believe there are. Jody?
You can't edit the actual media, but you can replace the slide.
Right.
So sometimes when you put things in, it'll format strangely. I'm not sure how recently you were playing with Voicethread. I feel like it's been updated a little bit recently, but I haven't had any issues with the formatting. You might consider just pulling that graphic or chart in as a separate piece of media, as opposed to having it on the PowerPoint slide, or exporting that PowerPoint as a PDF and then pulling it in if there's issues. But you can replace media. So if you've created a PowerPoint and then okay, so since this spring, so it hasn't been long, I would try to kind of see if you can pull that media in a different way. But if you put something in and commented on it and you want to keep those comments but change out the media, Voicethread does give you that option. So that's always a good thing to think about. There's also a question, are frequently used written comments stored to reuse? So you can copy Voicethreads and keep your comments on there. You sometimes have to go through and delete some of them if they're in response to people. So kind of stored to reuse, but you might want to keep a separate Word doc, with your common responses. One other thing with Voicethread that Eric may have mentioned, but I just want to reiterate, if you give students the option to use text, they often default to using text. So you can limit what type of comments they make, and I usually suggest asking for video unless students are uncomfortable showing their video, or for some reason religious or cultural, or just because of the nature of the environment that they're in, can't share their video, leave audio comments. So just another little tip while we're moving through. All right. I think that's all the questions we've got so far, Eric.
Perfect. Yeah, this will basically conclude the presentation portion of this workshop. I wanted to make sure we had plenty of time for additional questions. And like I had mentioned in the beginning, if you do have a specific use case that you're curious about for maybe your course, feel free to book a consultation. I think that's the main reason those are there, so we could really dive into your course and log in together and view what your situations you have in your course. We do have another question here. Lindsay asked that she said that you can provide the total possible scores, but can you add a rubric in some way? I don't think there's a rubric option.
There's not a rubric option
okay.
that I'm aware of, and grading is percentage based.
Mm-hmm.
So always be aware when you're creating these, it's good to use kind of a simple grading point system, because it is percentage based, and it'll pull that grade in. Whatever percentage you give the grade, it'll calculate that and give them that value of points in the grade center. So that's one of the little tricky things with Blackboard.
Another good point, Jody. Absolutely.
One thing while we're wrapping up that we in our office typically suggest is if you are going to invest in using VoiceThread in your course, it's one of those tools that's best to use throughout. So it does take time on your end to set up. It takes a different amount of grading time because you can't always, scan through like you might a discussion board. So you want to think about that when you're planning. Because it does take more time on the faculty side to set up, and it takes more time for students to learn how to use it. So if you're going to use it, give them a low stakes option at the beginning, and then work up to doing those more complicated VoiceThread tasks. Karen asked about comment moderation. You can absolutely set comment moderation. Do you think, Eric, you could go into one of the VoiceThreads and just click through the options for the VoiceThread that you can edit?
Sorry. Sorry about that. I clicked the wrong button there. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll go back there. So during your creation of VoiceThread, you want to enable comment moderation on specific slides then. I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to build a brand new VoiceThread here for this. So Jody, I'll be honest, I've never edited the individual slide for comments, I guess.
So you can individually edit a slide, but in the right corner of the black window there's options. And if you click Playback Settings, this gives you a number of different options you can set. So you can enable threaded commenting if you want students to comment and reply to one another, which can be a really great tool. So there's a number of different settings you can choose or not choose. If you want to make them do a Pakuchka format for their presentation, whatever it might be, you can mess around with these. On the right side, you can choose what method students can comment. But note, whatever you choose there is what you get. So I would set up all of your comments first, just in case you want text and video and audio, and then go back and edit these options after you're all set up for your students. So maybe you only want to offer microphone, webcam, and telephone for students, but you want to add some text in there to enrich the presentation or to give instructions. And one of those should be, so on the left-hand side, at the bottom of that top set of checkboxes is enable comment moderation. So that'll enable comment moderation for the entire VoiceThread, and you will have to manually go in and approve each comment. So unfortunately, right now we can't do it per slide, but it does allow you to do it for the entire presentation. So if you have a more sensitive topic you're covering, or maybe even some people do this just at the beginning, it's a good place to kind of check in with your students before they post. One nice thing about VoiceThread is it kind of takes down that wall we feel when we're, teaching online sometimes. So students aren't just typing, they're actually using their voice and being on camera. So it helps to create more of a sense of community often. And some people who might type something are less likely to engage in that type of communication on a VoiceThread. But these are also great if you want to limit how long comments are. So some students, if you don't give them a limit, will go on forever. Some will only talk for 3 seconds. So just like if you're setting up a discussion board with a word count, you may want to set up your VoiceThread with a minute count. So say each comment should be no longer than 2 minutes, because remember, on the back end, this is more of your time grading. You can play your students' comments back faster and they can listen to your comments at an accelerated speed, but it is a little harder on comprehension. So just keep that in mind. If you're thinking about using VoiceThread, it is a more robust tool, but it's absolutely also, it takes a lot more time to learn. So I would, and I'm sure Eric too would suggest playing with it, get in there, get a consultation, practice, get a group of faculty friends together, and create a test course and maybe try it out from both the faculty and the student side so you can get a feel for it before you ask your students to do it as well.
Absolutely. And I guess I forgot that Thomas did ask about sharing a VoiceThread. Let me go back to that. So I'm gonna go outside of Blackboard. If you do create a VoiceThread that you want to share with a colleague, or you want them to view that VoiceThread maybe before you submit that as an assignment for your course, or submit that as a presentation in your course, you can do that as well. So let's open up a new tab. I think, yeah. Just make sure I'm still sharing my screen. So I'm just going to go straight to VoiceThread. Oh, sorry, it's ohio.voicethread. So ohio.voicethread.com will log me into our version of VoiceThread. Let me take that out of there. Sorry. I'm just going to sign in. So you can VoiceThread had just recently changed where it is under single sign-on now. So if you are logged into Blackboard, if you're logged into CatMail, or any other application throughout the university that does also require a single sign-on, can automatically be signed into VoiceThread now. In the past, you did have to have a VoiceThread account, but that has changed. So now if I want to go, I'll log into VoiceThread, and same as we covered in the very beginning, it does default load you to the all view of VoiceThread. So like I said, with me having an admin account on VoiceThread, I do see all VoiceThreads. You will see all the VoiceThreads that are associated to your account here. For me, I want to go down and just click on Owned by Me. So this will show me the VoiceThreads that I've created with this account. And if I have a specific VoiceThread that I want to share with an individual, I can hover over that individual VoiceThread, and the bottom left-hand corner it will have the share icon. If I click on share, I will have different sharing options here. If you want to share it within a group in VoiceThread, or if you want to share it outside of VoiceThread to an individual, you click on Basic. Here, this will provide you with a URL for this VoiceThread. We want to make sure it has that ohio.voicethread in this URL. It really should always have that. I've actually ran into a couple of cases where some individuals were sharing VoiceThread and it didn't have that. That ohio.voicethread in the URL does provide that single sign-on. So if you're sharing it with a colleague that's never logged into VoiceThread, never accessed VoiceThread, you share this link with them. They'll go through the single sign-on process, and this will provision their account as well in VoiceThread for the first time logging in. So you could copy this link here, email this to an individual. If you have a web page that you're creating, you could click on the embed. You can embed this code into your website. And that will play this VoiceThread there as well. And you do have the options at the top here to allow anyone to view and or to comment. With these settings set here, anybody that sees this link can view it and can comment. Maybe if you're just sharing a VoiceThread with an individual who you just want them to see it, but not really comment or critique it, you would disable the comment feature there. And that would allow this individual to see that after you provided the link to them. Thomas, does that answer your question? A question. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. You're seeing it. Go ahead.
A question about the consultations. Yeah, we've had consultations with students. They're not as common. It probably hasn't been presented to them as heavily as it has to our instructors. But yeah, we definitely have done so for any of the consultations. The URL is completely open. They would just go to the our training consultation page here and book their consultations through here. And as far as I know, these consultations should be available throughout the entire fall semester. And I would think even going beyond that, we've always offered consultations for our products, just never in this virtual format. So prior pandemic, Blackboard consultations would be in person. Yeah, absolutely, Rob. I can put that link in there. But now I think the consultations they're being better advertised now, so more individuals know about them, and we're able to provide better help this way, I think.
Do we have any more questions for Eric? While you're thinking about questions, I just want to remind you that today at 1, we'll be talking about affordable course resources. And tomorrow we have 2 Teams presentations. The first is on using Teams to enhance your course offering. The second is using Teams more as an LMS. So we hope you'll join us again at 10 and 1 o'clock tomorrow. This is being recorded, so it will be posted on the Patton College YouTube channel, as well as, I believe, Connie's site, or the site where the others have been posted as well. So thank you all for joining us today. I hope we see you again at 1. Eric, thanks so much for your presentation. And if you do have more questions, I'll be hanging out for a couple minutes. If not, have a wonderful day.
Perfect. You're very welcome, Jody. And yes, thanks everybody for their participation. And I just want to reiterate that the consultations are there. If you're unsure of any of our products, please reach out to us and book a consultation. We're more than happy to help.